One of the questions asked earlier was, what are the size of the dwelling units?
Keith Wooden with Housing Works. Good evening. So you've seen a lot about kind of the physical attributes. I wanted to talk just briefly about, Peter mentioned the unit mix, but also we're affordable housing developers. So I want to talk a little about how the affordability would impact this community. So we're going to have studios, 1s, 2s, and 3s. As Peter mentioned, we have mostly 2s. And conceptually, our rents will start at about $387 and go up to $537 and for a 3-bedroom unit. So significantly below market. And as Peter mentioned, we, as an affordable housing developer, we compete each year for what's called low-income housing tax credits in the state. And most of our larger multifamily projects are financed through this method. So this is, we picked Prineville this year and this project to go into this competitive round and compete with everybody across the state to make an affordable community in this town. So, and the clients who would live here, because there's lower rents, there's income limits as well, and this project, we're focused at 50% and less of the median income for Cook County. And then the associated rents, like I said, are probably half a market, I would assume, especially given the market we have out here today and kind of the housing crisis and the issues that we're facing. And any questions for us?
So as you're doing the remodel, we had read years ago about asbestos and different things that are in the building. And so what are you doing to rectify all that?
So we've hired a fleet of consultants to advise us. Those who are familiar with, actually the school district itself had extensive reports on what was in the building. And when we go through and rehab the project, we'll abate those. And so those issues will be off the project or encapsulated, so there won't be an issue going forward.
So I live in that neighborhood, and I'm aware that there's different standards in commercial areas with regard to asbestos and things that are in the air and such versus in a residential area. So of course I'm concerned about what the environmental impact will be through construction as well as for folks that would live there.
Sure. So during the construction process, and I personally haven't overseen an asbestos kind of project as large as this one, but abatement contractors have to be certified, and I know that they have intense protocols on how they shield off an area where they're working to release any kind of particles during the construction projects. And this is, I know these guys go in before the construction workers go in to protect the workers as well. So that's all highly controlled and regulated. And then in an ongoing basis, once that's abated, we have over 800 units, so we know the nature of people living in them, and we're gonna make sure all of it's gone and it's tested so that we don't have any issues ongoing. If we are awarded, like we hope to be awarded financing for this project, we would dig directly into design and building and permitting, and we'd hope to be under construction within 4 months after award. And so time of construction, probably 6 months, I would assume. Peter? So a little bit longer.
It's probably going to be closer to about 10 months.
Peter has his architectural firm completed a school conversion to residential housing in Richland, Oregon, which is east of La Grande, and they're very well aware of how this happens. And they actually have a video, I think, on their website that if people are interested in see what kind of an after product of a school would look like in a residential basis, It's on the website, right? Yeah, it's Pinnacle Architecture. So absolutely take a peek.
What if you don't get the awards?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The nature of this year is a little different than usual years in that they've released a kind of what they call a notice of funding late this year because they had a lot of administrative things going on. The state did. They're going to release another one in January, and so if we didn't get financing in this fall round, there's good potential we could put in again in January.
Is it funding for the purchase of the property or the reconfiguration of the school to residences?
That would be it would be both. It would be for the rehab and the purchase.
Not purchase the property.
That's correct. We have an agreement to purchase it based off certain conditions, and then we pay as we go to hold it, kind of situation.
I'm Darcy Bedortha. I'm a resident here in Prineville. I'm the Rural Program Coordinator for Heart of Oregon Corps. I'm also regional staff for the Oregon AFL-CIO. Housing is a critical issue for all of those hats that I wear. I think closest to my heart are the young people that work for me, for us. Often they're struggling. They're AmeriCorps members, so they get very little money. It's a living stipend. It's not a wage. They're doing a 6-month term of service, working on public lands. Often in their off hours when they're not working for Service BLM, they're working around the community because I asked them to, and they step up and they do that. So they've done work in the parks. They're the ones that cleaned off the brush along the park behind the library, removed a lot of homeless camps down there. So, and then in the last round of hiring that I did, I found out one of the young people that I had interviewed had actually been living there. So it's kind of a full circle deal. They're struggling. One of the biggest jobs for me is to give them hope. And it's really difficult to give them hope when things are the way they are. I am a voting member of the Homeless Leadership Coalition, the Regional Homeless Leadership Coalition, and vacancy rates are crazy. Last week we talked as a voting board, it was 0.5. And it's really, really difficult to give them a chance. And they want to work and they want a place to live and they want that opportunity to have their own space as a 20-year-old and not couch surf or live with mom and dad or all of the things that we took for granted. And there just isn't that opportunity right now for our young people. And so I think as a community, we need to step up. And I think this is a phenomenal project for that site. It sits in a pretty difficult area, but I think what they've done is really remarkable. If you haven't seen the video, I encourage you to do that. It's beautiful what they've done in Richland. And Tom and Keith and I have talked about that gym as a community space. So I have some ideas about that, but I encourage you to support this project. We need housing in this community, specifically for people that are trying to transition into some stability.
I'm a resident here of Prineville, Ridgeview Commons, where I live. I want to speak out for disabled individuals in our community. I am a disabled firefighter. I live on a very extremely fixed income. We plain and simply can't afford a house, let alone, there's very few available. To have additional low-income housing helps a lot of people in this community, even folks like myself. I was a firefighter for 20 years, suffer from multiple sclerosis among other conditions, and I simply can't afford anything more. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment now. We can't move out of that or step up in any way because there's nothing that's anywhere near our price range. And so to have more affordable low-income housing like this in Prineville gives us all a chance at maybe just a little bit better place to live.
For considering this proposal, we've worked a lot with the city to put together a proposal we think is very solid and and a very competitive application so we can get that financing and bring those resources to this community.
I move that the application be approved, subject to the conditions of approval as they have been finalized and based upon the findings of fact in favor of the application.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None noted. Looks like you're ready.
Thank you.